Welcome to day 11, module 11 of how to buy your first rental property in Cleveland, Ohio in 2026 and 2027. So, running conservative numbers. How do you do that? So, obviously we just worked with the numbers of actually what might your repairs be, which may or may not be an issue depending on whether you're looking at properties that need any repairs. Even some of the nicer ones might need some repairs, usually. But running the conservative numbers for actually figuring out what this as an investment. So we do have free deal analyzer, and we can definitely share that with you. All you have to do is just text us Investalize, again, INVESTALIZE, to get that free deal analysis calculator. Okay, but a few things that you need to look at. First of all, be conservative finding comparable values. Now, generally, if you're already in contact with our business development manager, he or she, our representative, definitely if you can email out deals, he can look at them and give you what he thinks it'll rent for. And also, you yourself, you can look. Generally, Zillow's within 10%. Doesn't mean that Zillow can't see the extremes, but just be careful. Don't look at a property and just think, oh, like this is just special. Like, usually it's not that far out of what might be an average rent. I'm not saying never happens. And in Cleveland, definitely if you're like right on the edge between property grades or area grades, like a C to B, and that average might not be so obvious even to Zillow. Can't go and see, oh, you go one block over and it's much nicer. So, but you can also look on Zillow. I actually find it's much better than just looking at the Zillow number. See what people are asking around. Now, just so you can actually go on Zillow, pop up the zip code, and then just look at the map. And in the map, you'll see active listings now. You gotta understand, those active listings are not comps. Not true comparables. In the real estate industry, we call them comps or comparables. Those active listings in the industry we say list price is wish price. In other words, you can have anybody. People have weird thoughts about their own properties. Oftentimes, they're the least good person at figuring out the actual value, right? So when someone says, I want X for my property, whether it's to sell or to rent, they don't always even listen to a professional if they're listening. They're like, as an agent, I've told people many times, hey, it's worth this. And the owner wants 50% above that or double. And to some extent, I have to decide, do I even want to work with this person? Because they're not exactly being realistic. Sometimes I will, sometimes I won't. It's situational. But these days, I don't personally list anything. However, just to be clear, list price is wish price. That being said, you get a ceiling from active listings. In other words, you figure if something just like something, like if a property identical to yours in every way is not rented after 30 days for $1,500, you should probably question whether yours is going to rent for more than that, right? You don't know how much less, but it's like, hey, the whole market's rejected this after days of being on the market at this price. So probably not going to get more than what the market's already objecting. You don't know how badly they've rejected it yet, right? But so the problem with rental listings in Cleveland, Ohio is that there's no real public database that's reliable that will tell you what things actually rented for. So you have to guess a little bit. In Zillow's a guess. There's comp services out there that will guess a little bit. You can go on one of these AI services like Manus. I know people that go on Manus and they'll have Manus do research on market comps and just ask him, say, hey, look this up, look for comparable rental properties. But at the end of the day, you want to be conservative. You don't have to be ultra conservative if the house is super nice. Be conservative about what you think it'll actually rent for. And you're always looking, with all comps, what you're looking at is what's the very highest this house could ever get if it had everything laid out, right? And this is where a lot of owners get wrong. Like, we have owners that come to us and they look at that highest price that could ever happen under any terms. And then they have a house that is not in the condition of what would require to get that highest price. And the range can be pretty big. So you could have something where the highest price is like $1,500, maybe you really push it even to $1,600. Then they have a house that has 30-year-old countertops. They say in real estate, this is for sales, but it goes for rentals as well. Kitchens and bathrooms sell, right? So it has like 80s yellow Formica countertops with metal cabinets used for the kitchen cabinets from the 40s. Like, they might still work. It has cigarette burns in it, as this and that, right? It might still work, but you're not going to get the highest value. you might have to drop the price by 30%. So just make sure that you are reasonable in terms of what's the worst that this could still be market ready at in terms of cosmetics, and what's the highest it could still be market ready in terms of cosmetics, right? And where is my house going to fit into that? What am I willing to do to make my house that highest, right? There are houses in very low end areas that still have granite countertops and tile backsplashes and tile tub surrounds. You will see that. And they will get a premium, even more than you ever think was possible in that area. It doesn't mean that you've removed all the risks, but it's helped with some of the risks in terms of actually attracting someone that wants to take care of it, right? So just be realistic. And there may be a higher level that you can't go above in certain areas, no matter what you do, right? Be honest with yourself about that. So you normally establish a range of what's possible. Recognize that maybe there's even a higher possibility because in the current market range, you're not seeing examples. Something that's at higher level, that's possible too. But still be conservative, make a reasonable judgment of what you're likely to be doing in terms of making it ready, which we talked about in the last, and then where that's going to fit in the range that you see in terms of grades of cosmetics and how it looks, and then make that decision. And after a while, especially if you're searching for multiple properties in an area, you should pretty much know that range, know what you're targeting for, and pretty quickly be able to say, hey, if I think I'm at this level of cosmetic grade, should be at this rent level for 3-bedroom, 1-bath, single-family house, or per duplex unit. And in this area, each duplex should get about $950 or $1,200, right? And what I will say, I'm not sure if I've mentioned in the previous, that generally, I remember mentioning it, now that you're actually looking at the rents, if it's under $1,200 a month rent, even for a single duplex unit, you should really consider if this is a good place to rent. The higher the rents, doesn't mean you can just choose higher rents for a property that doesn't get it, but the higher the rents, the legitimate open market rents that you can get for a property, the more value that person has to create in the world to be able to afford that, which means that if they've created value economically, that they had to have a personal life that supports that, that's organized enough to support that, right? There's anomalies here. There are people that have just lived terrible lives and are extremely unorganized and still manage to keep down a job that's very high income. But in general, just having a higher rent puts you into that range of just eliminating a whole lot of drama that you would have to otherwise deal with as the rents go lower, okay? And as those rents go lower, it's not a linear proposition of cost. It's a skyrocketing hockey stick of cost. It's going to just multiply very quickly. Each time you get down a level, it's 5 to 10 times more cost, right? So it's not like a percent more cost or a small increment more. So just consider that. Be conservative on your numbers when you're actually analyzing. And again, feel free to text or email Investalize for our calculator in terms of how to make a great investment. And we'll look forward to talking to you in the next video, which will be how to make a smart offer after doing all these other steps. And so that's where we see some payoff. That's where we can move forward. And if you have any questions about a current property, want to talk to us about property management, feel free to click the link below and schedule a time with one of our business development managers to talk about if property management with Realty Trust Services would be a fit for you. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.